Arnold Katz, in addition to having a very beautiful daughter, had an incisive mind and at times was very interested in me. He worked at Pitt, not to be confused with the business school Katz that I think he was part of. He always welcomed me at his house. I was welcome in his daughter's privacy all night. And occasionally we had conversations, although they were often short. He was a busy and intelligent man working hard at the University of Pittsburgh. He rode a bicycle and was interested in my views. I gave him a small, beautiful t shirt that he prized. I had it made specially custom for him. Good old Arnold Katz. And one particular occasion comes to mind now because it concerns my divination, esoteric intuition. When I said something very typical of me, he very typically of him sportingly deciphered it and said, aha, so you believe these Christian Armageddonists are letting the planet die because they think the apocalypse is inevitable. And I replied, yes, that's what I think. He said, very good. So we got to the bottom of my garbled attempts to express what I thought was happening in 1979. He even tried to stay up late for the Dynamic of Disaster show, but he fell asleep at 2. So uh, I decided that it was a priority to determine if the Bushy Tune, the Bushmanites, were prohibiting ecological uh, common decency because they wanted climate denial, because they wanted a deliberate attempt to bring about the apocalypse. Flame over Africa. Evidence that has emerged confirms this, and that Yoko Ono was involved. A royal strategy of getting rid of us out of dire necessity. Deliberate. Prioritize this and learned a good deal that I will attempt to share. So, it has its antecedents in 78, 79, before the ludicrous mongering of the behemoth. I mean, the lies and slanders of Ringo Starr. And recently I learned a little bit about um, the smugness trade. The smugness is the licky chop squirm who wriggle with lewd woo woo at the shower curtain where they have contracted attack prostitutes. They know their business and they lay out the war college parameters. St. Louis today forms clued me in that Eric Prince was a navigator of the Obama Mies headquarters. You might think, oh, Obama Mies, what brainers? But it's a no-brainer that they're just part of the puppet show. Behind the scenes, you had Trump power wedges and Hollywood, Reagan's Hollywood, men like Clint Eastwood and Ringo Starr pummeling us with, Howard Stern dangling his underwear and Zappa coining phrases that made him mock the devil and so on and stuff. But it's organized, it was a two virgins pussy ball show which one of these we could debate for quite some time, symbolizes Gail Burstyn and which one symbolizes Leslie Katz, the Gail and Leslie alliance. Okay. Well, we know from Aaron Bailey that Bailey Gatzer means Bailey Getzer, and Carrie Gister means Carrie Kister and Gaster. I mean, these are the brainiacs of Primo Levi. God may he rest in peace. So we're dealing with dramaturges of great heaviosity who created a parallel universe while cooking up a storm, as Colucci would say of his mother. Um, an overweight Italian woman who would talk quite fast in her native language. Her father had a stack of records in his closet. He was going to be a singer until he turned out he scored. So, who should arrive on the movie set with pre-synced super decoders? But Amanda Harcourt, the attorney for Hera and Yoko Ono in 1984, came to announce with great Joni Mitchellism and Roger Waters and Eno on the phone with Putin. With great aha, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Oh, so meanwhile, Zapatoon was saying one size fits all. So the whole is the one size that unites everyone. So they didn't care about individual victims. They were just fat women in the trenches of Donbass to Amanda Harcourt. They wanted to poach singularities that made a unity that could squeal for the squealers, that could cry out for the lemmings and unite them under the flag of Yoko Ono. And they let it spread. They one sense Ripper Shannon harps. They tutelaged in black affairs on hospital violence. So you know not to think you're special when they stick you with a new disease. They poisoned me in the mouth. They invented COVID and they had a woman named Ash Green, which is a nuclear ultimatum. So, you know, we know that Homeland and Kirkland had Captain Kirk up in the sky with George Takei looking down on all of those low and downtrodden for whom one size fits all because the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So, what was the purpose in blowing up the Nord Stream? Well, an extreme illustration of my concern would be that Putin and Biden conspired to blow up the Nord Stream so that the methane would go into the atmosphere, so that people knew they could give two shits about climate change, equity, and sustainable development when the issue is that girl Nancy from the Nancy, Barbara, and Jody. I'll get back to her brother stole mallet, medieval mallet from the Carnegie, a showman type thing to do. It's Cyril Weck, JFK brain in the briefcase type thing to do. And the Ukrainians come swinging. So this is all part of the parallel universe. They say Ronnie Zinsky and Casper Elfsky are maybe a war college in Dutch squareball, but no son. Reagan didn't know son. And Edwin Neese and Obama are sacred unto the insight of the fairy queen, Amanda Harcourt, who can tell Believer Camilla what to do at the Beijing Olympics for the puppet show, the fourth dimensional puppet show. This is the mind at work and what's going on. I mean, I'm not making this up. I'm not smothering it in gonzo. This is what this is briny with the Cornell West spinner beanies. So what we see is the other matters of the index get more macabre. Why Nancy, Barbara, and Jody? Now this is before the Hinckley show. Nancy Reagan, Barbara Bush, and Jodie Foster. How strange. How interlinked. How prescient the walrus has been. So we're told that Erik Prince networked Van der Graaf Generator and Wagner Company of Russia for Tacoma's marathon of Kennedy killing equity debts in disease management. Todd Kaufman called it experimental disease transmission at ha ha ha, Carnegie Mellon WRCT, ha ha ha. And SAMU police were advised over and over again that they were talking about was real. Ha ha ha, they said, because Peter Gabriel's technique is ambiguity. Edward Gorey, he makes you laugh. Ha ha ha, all's forgiven, ha ha ha. So the parallel universe is clearly too intricate for all of these innocent people to have done nothing, as they say. M. Stahl and Les Stahl, it's like Riefenstahl. Stalling, they had scientific cunning to abound. Like Spike-Old Lee, beloved of Abara Lee, a Holocaust survivor, Indian Suave, who knew Will Zell, the honorary Dakota representative who loved Joseph Goebbels so much that he became a leader of the NAACP and JDL and so on and so forth. You get the Walrus Jazz, right? He made a character in School Days, which some Scott Roback, the Zuclio pest, would say, who was like, honoring Jimmy Carrey. He couldn't stop himself once he got going. Contrary to the truth, I was accused of pulling out too fast in conformance with the girl's wishes. You pulled out too fast, that's right. Spike Lee's Trumpy tuned spinner beanie has no equal. Well, the scientific cunning that went into it made a partnership with Melissa Riddle, who I don't know who her father was not to show up when my dying father asked for him. I don't know who killed my father, but Riddle of the Sphinx is paramount to never understand and stamp German Green Party. Honor the black man with mountains of swastikas, which are ancestor symbols from Africa, and so on and so forth. Riddle had a sex change for therapy. People would go in and watch men masturbate. I didn't want to see it. But he took me out to see the KKK. These are the Clintonoid fantasists from North Carolina who came up with Pussy Bowl. The black man just wants an east-west circuit and will take it from the white. And this is Mace Brilliance. This is the Kanye West shaking hands with Erik Prince and all that stuff. So they say dishonesty is the best policy, and for them, I guess it must be. So what we're saying is in this stupidity and cunning, scientific precision. They neuroplasmed me and then allowed me to be debased by Leslie in her cellar night after night after night, and then cry when I was rejected, so they could say, he's like that kid in Spike-Old Lee. And Abara spread the story around ATS, and Andrea Swimmer said, we have Carbon Al's secret tapes from the Neva Corporation, and Yoko Ono's going to get him because he could have saved John Lennon. And this was Experiment HQ. And nobody knew. No, son. Nobody knew this was going on. No,